Good afternoon and welcome to the Compass Alternative Certification Teacher Academy application tutorial. I am Dominique McCain, the talent lead for the Compass team, and today we're going to walk through the application that we have. We apologize for the tardiness. We were trying to get directly on at 1 o'clock. However, as we've done this in the past, we know this will take approximately 30 minutes. We're going to go through each page and highlight some of the important features of the application. Please note that you have the option to chat us any questions that you have. So we'll go ahead and get started. Once you have logged on to your AppleTrack account using your username and password, the first two pages of the application do ask you for personal information and for a postal address. We have chosen to not show those pages because we've had to set up an account actually. And so there's some personal information inside of those two pages. But those are pretty much self-explanatory as long as you ensure that you are making the right decisions as far as the information you're being asked. The first two pages, if you look to the left here for personal info and postal address, should be pretty self-explanatory. As we go through the tutorial this afternoon, we're going to point out some of the required questions. Those are noted with an asterisk, in a red asterisk at the top of the page, and so we'll show you those as well. So starting with page 3 for vacancy desired, because the AppleTrack system is used throughout Dallas ISD, it gives you the option to choose multiple positions for which you would like to apply. For the purposes of joining the Compass Alternative Certification Teacher Academy, it is imperative that you definitely click job ID 16853. If you do not click that particular job ID, we will not have access to your application and be unable to process you to join our program. So please be sure, no matter what else you choose on the list, that you absolutely certainly choose the first option. Because these are alphabetized by organization, alternative certification comes up first. So you should be able to click on, again, job ID 16853 as soon as you start the vacancy desired page for the application. Now I'm going to click to page 4. Excuse me. And so what you see on this page is that it is a required page. There's a red asterisk at the top, and again, that indicates any required field. Notice that the Dallas Independent School District does automatically send a confidential online survey to all references. So that statement is right above the references. The person or persons that you include for your references, and you are required to have 2, which is why you see 2 red asterisks here. Their name and email address are required, and then once you add these 2, you are given your reference is sent an online survey. So for those of you who are wondering, do we actually contact your references? Notice it tells you that a confidential online survey is automatically sent to the person that you choose as your reference. If you by chance have more than one reference, then you are able to add a reference to the top or the bottom of the page. That's totally up to you. Many times we get questions about, is it required to have a reference letter? There is an option to add a reference letter, but a reference letter is not required to join the Alternative Certification Teacher Academy. You can join Compass without reference letters, but you must have the name and email address of 2 professional references or personal references that you would like contacted to give us a survey about you and your job performance. Page 5 is full disclosure page where you are asked about having ever worked in the Dallas Independent School District before. And so we request that anyone who has worked in the district identify for us, yes, that they have, for how many years. Oftentimes we use this information as a district to identify pay into the TRS system or the teacher retirement system. any entity that is affiliated with teacher retirement is required by law to report the years of service of persons working within those entities. So this is a required page. Notice it has a red asterisk on it. And so you are required to give us this information. Moving from central to campus, there is a question about whether or not you're changing your assignment. And so for those of you who may be listening, who are teaching assistants in the district, if you change assignment from a teaching assistant to a Compass teacher, then that is included as and defined as a change of assignment. Please make sure that you are being as transparent as possible with regard to those assignment changes, because your pay will be affected and you have to be coded differently in the system so that you can be paid appropriately. So please be sure to answer all required questions on the application. Let's go now to the page about experience. And so again, if you notice, this has a red asterisk. This information is required on this page. This asks basically about a job history. We want to know, what is your current or most recent position held? What is the work that you've done? How long was your tenure on that job, etc. We often get questions about, will my current employer be notified? Well, the question here, if you notice in this field, it says, may we contact this employer? If you indicate no, then that employer will not be contacted. However, if you indicate yes, there's a probability that they will. And so the reason we separate these is because the persons you choose as your references are not necessarily always the people that you currently work with. And so we recognize that, and we ask that you give us basically a job history on this page. Notice in the instructions it says, please list all relevant work experience beginning with the most recent. And so we want your most recent here, and then your job history can follow. You do have the option to add new experiences at the bottom or the top of the page. And so you have the option to do that. Keep in mind, this job history is required. There's a red asterisk on the page. Now we'll go to education, page 7. For the education page, again, we see the red asterisk indicating required questions. We ask you specifically for your high school name and graduation status. In order to join the Compass program, a high school diploma and a conferred bachelor's degree are required. So if you do not have the equivalent of a high school diploma, GED included, we do consider that the equivalent of a high school diploma, and or a bachelor's degree. So notice the GED equivalent is available in the option. And then once you complete the name and location of your colleges and universities, the question asks, did you graduate, yes or no? And what was the date of your conferred or expected date? So for our May graduates, you would put your expected date of confirmation for your degree. If you are a May graduate, your degree has to be able to be conferred by June 15th in order for you to join us. So the deadline to confirm your degree would be June 15th, 2016. All of the colleges and universities that you have attended can be listed here for the education page. Let's go to page 8, second education page. We are required by the state of Texas to identify the highest degree that you have attained. And so we do ask you for that information here. Notice it gives you a variety. The minimum degree needs to be at least a bachelor's degree, but you are welcome to have higher degrees. We have persons in the program with doctoral degrees and medical degrees. So that doesn't take you out of the running for the program, but you must have a bachelor's degree with a GPA of 2.75 or better. And so here we ask you to report, and it is a self-report of your overall GPA, number of graduate hours beyond your highest degree, and if you have a program of study in the graduate area, we'd like you to indicate that as well. Page 9 takes us into semester hours. Now we get a lot of questions about this page. Notice this is not a required page. We do not require this page, but if you want to fill out this page, we're simply asking for your total of semester hours in each one of these areas, because we do report to the state the number of credit hours that you've received in particular subject matter as you've attained your degree. And so in order for us to be able to do that, we have your transcript. It is required. So we're going to do these calculations anyway, which is why this page is not required. We've had several people ask, does this mean that I have to take these classes? No, these are not courses affiliated with Compass at all. These are the subject areas for which you have 15 or more semester hours of credit. Persons who are pursuing certification in both math and or science are required to have 15 credit hours of math and or science on their transcript in order for us to give them certification in that area. If you take and pass the math or science content exams associated with that certification, then you are not required to have those 15 credit hours. So again, this is not a required page. And a lot of times when people see it, it kind of throws them off. They're not really sure what they're supposed to do. You can completely skip it if you choose. It is not required for submission of your application. Page 10 talks about time off. Notice this is a required page and does have required questions. This gives us an idea of your commitment to your work duties. It asks you about your attendance on previous jobs, both paid time off, and how many of those paid time off allotted days did you actually take. So notice it asks you to answer those questions. They are required. Please, guys, if you're listening, if you have any questions, make sure that you chat those questions to us so we can address them toward the end. Let's go now to page 11, which is extracurricular activities. Again, this is a page where we're just trying to ascertain who you are as an applicant. If you would like to share any information with us about your interest, it would go on this page. Notice again, this is not a required page. And so if you'd like to share with us the things that interest you with regard to extracurricular activities, we'd be more than happy to learn those things about you. In the district here in Dallas ISD, we do have a commitment to talent matching. And so we have a lot to offer on our campuses. We have multiple campuses, and we are certain that you will find a campus that is a great fit for you. And so this is just a way for us to attain some of that information about you as an applicant. Let's go to page 12. This page is where you can upload all of your supplemental materials. Now, I'm going to take a little time on this page because it gets difficult for people who have never had to upload everything electronically. We are slowly but surely moving away from the days where you submit hard copy documents for applying for jobs. And for the Compass program, no hard copy documents are accepted. There may be one or two exceptions to that, but we get hard copies directly from the entity, not from the applicant. So applicants are not required to submit anything in hard copy to us. All documents must be uploaded. And this is the page where those documents get uploaded. So the first thing that I want to say to you is, in order for you to execute this page correctly, you must have these documents scanned and saved as electronic files on your personal computer, laptop, or device. So if you don't have the documents scanned in and saved, then you won't be able to upload them. Keep in mind that if you take pictures of transcripts with your phone, those become very difficult to read, and so we will still request that you scan them into an electronic file and then upload them here. So when it comes to transcripts, for instance, if you took classes at one of the community colleges and you went and got your bachelor's at a college or university, and you took other classes at other locations, all transcripts are required. We must have all of your transcripts. Any courses that were used to award you a bachelor's degree, the transcripts from those universities are required if they are not already included. In many cases, if you transfer from one school to another, those courses are added to your transcript. And so it's important for you to recognize that if those courses are not on the transferred transcript to which you, for the university where you got your degree, that you must have the transcript from that previous school. So the first thing you do is you save it. As I mentioned, you save the electronic file on your computer, and then you would have to click the Add Files button, and then you're going to go to the Choose File, which allows you to browse your computer for all of the files that you have. And then once you choose the appropriate file, you will click upload. Once you've actually uploaded the file, I'm going to go back to the page where you can see it. It will show you the name of the file as status. If it still says add files, that means you have not correctly uploaded the file. We have a place here for you to add your transcripts. And we also have a place here for you to add your TextSS score reports once you have taken and passed your test. If you are a person who is waiting to take your test, you've already registered, this is where you would upload your registration that we've required through email. We've sent some of you emails about sending us your test registrations so we know when you will be able to take your test. Those would go under supplemental materials. If you have to upload TOEFL scores to us, that would go under supplemental materials. Anything that you have to upload for us for the purposes of completing your application and paperwork, those would be uploaded on this page. Now let's go over to the referral page 13. Notice it does have an asterisk. This is data that we are capturing and are very interested in. The question says, how did you hear about employment with us? And you are only allowed to choose one option. So this is what I tell people. If you heard about us through a friend who's in the program, then you want to make sure that you choose the option of you heard about us from a current teacher. We are asking teachers in our district to refer people to the program, so that's an option. Also, we have several places where we have the job posted. We have our job posted on Idealist, we have our job posted on Indeed, we have our job posted on the Dallas ISD website. We send out emails, we call people, we have radio spots, and we do information sessions. You might be a Teach for America person who has heard about Compass through Teach for America or an email you received from them. Maybe you're on LinkedIn. Whichever one of these options indicates how you heard about Compass, that is the option you want to choose. We have a few questions I'd like to address right now. The question says, I don't have the registration for the test. Can I do it later? There is no time for it. Thank you in advance for your answer. Thank you for your question. We recognize that people are still trying to get into testing locations. It is imperative that you find a testing location as much as you try. We have had applicants have to travel as far as Houston and even to Austin in some cases to get their test scores. To be very transparent, TextSS scores are required before you can be recommended to a classroom through the Compass program. So questions around, can I join the program without having my test scores? The answer is no. We want you to have your test taken and passed before we put you in front of students in the classroom. So if you are wondering how that works, we are one of the few alternative certification programs that requires you to have the test passed before you come to us. However, with that said, it is also important to note that you can submit your application without your test scores. The application can be submitted and you can add your test scores later to the page that we just discussed, page 12 for supplemental materials. So hopefully I've answered your question. If not, please let me know via chat. Moving to page 14, the language skills. Again, you see the red asterisk on this page, so it is required. This is where we're asking about your language proficiency. And so we're asking you for your first language. And the question specifically notes that you are able to speak, read, or write the language, and then what level of proficiency. And there are drop-down menus for you to look into those. Please include as many as you have. If you are fluent in multiple languages, we would love to have you document that here. This is specifically important for our bilingual teacher candidates, those of you who are seeking bilingual certification. You must indicate to us that you are both proficient in English and in Spanish. And we do have some assessments that are required to demonstrate that proficiency as well. Page 15 is a required page, and this is a very important page. All of the ones that have the red asterisk, we've intentionally put that as a visual note to you that this page is very important. The questions on this page are used to determine your eligibility for the 2016 Compass program. And so, as I mentioned before, do you currently have a bachelor's degree, or do you expect to have your bachelor's degree conferred by June 15th? The answer to that question should be yes. If it is no, you will be ineligible for our program. Did you receive your undergraduate degree from an accredited US-based university? If the answer is yes, great. If the answer is no, then you must also include information about TOEFL test scores. And so if you received your degree, and I'm going to be very specific in the way I state this, if you received your degree from a university or a college at any place that is not stateside the United States, even Puerto Rico counts because it is a territory of the United States, but it is not stateside. So if you received your degree at the University of Puerto Rico, then you would click no on this option and then give us your results for TOEFL scores. The TOEFL test is going to give you the option and the opportunity to demonstrate your English proficiency. The cut score here is a 26 that's required. And so you have to have a 26 on the oral portion in order to be eligible to teach here in the Compass program in our bilingual classrooms. These are some other required questions. Please make sure that you are answering these as well. The first one asks about, have you ever held or been eligible to apply for a professional teaching certificate license in any U.S. state? For people who are certified from other states, there is a process through the state of Texas where you must have your certification evaluated, your credential evaluated for its equivalent in the state of Texas. So if you're coming from North Carolina or some other state and you have a teaching certificate or license, that would have to be evaluated by the state of Texas before you can be taken into our program. And that's because if you have an out-of-state credential, the state will give you their own process for certification, and you won't necessarily need to come through an alternative certification program. Have you ever had a state-issued temporary teaching certificate license as part of a teacher preparation program? If you have been a part of any other Texas-based alternative certification program, then you are required to notify us that you have, because a transfer is required from that program to our program before you can join us. And so we ask these questions again very intentionally, and we make them required so that we can get as much information as possible and guide you accordingly. This information tells you how to calculate your GPA. It is not necessary that you do so, but we do have a GPA requirement of 2.75. And so this gives you some information on how could you personally calculate your GPA on a 4.0 scale. If you have a degree from outside of the United States, such as Mexico or Panama or South America, then you will have to have your degree, your foreign degree evaluated. If you're coming from a country outside of the United States and it's not a U.S. territory, it will have to be evaluated by one of our state approved vendors. So when you visit our website, we tell you how you go about the process of getting your foreign degree evaluated for your GPA and equivalents in the United States. These two questions come up very frequently: TEA test ID number and TEA PAC number. If you have already attempted to register for your test, then you have either one of these. If you've been in TEA system before, taken any assessments through the state of Texas, you already have a TEA ID number. And if you have not, you should be able to complete the PACT process. There are some small speed bumps here, and so we ask you to help give us any information you can by giving us those numbers. If you have been a teaching assistant, then you have a TEA ID number because you have to get your credential to be a teaching assistant. It's called a paraprofessional license. When you do that, you're issued a TEA ID number, and so you are ineligible to PACT. However, if you notify us that you need assistance with this because you're a teaching assistant, we can give you instructions on how to have your PACT approval restored, and then you'll be able to go ahead and register for the test. So if you run into any problems with PACTing or trying to register for an exam, please email us and notify us, and we'll be able to assist you with that. Please make sure you are chatting us any questions that you may have. Just for the sake of information, I'm going to share with you our web address right now. It is www.dallasisd.org/compass, COMPASS. That will take you to our homepage. and it is filled with information that can help you in this process. Page 16 is extremely important. This is our pre-screening questions page. There are, again, you see the red asterisk because it's required. Each of these are scenario-based questions that you must answer with very, by being very conscientious, excuse me. We want to make sure that you understand we are looking for people who have a growth mindset. We are looking for people who identify and show that they have some of those criteria in place that will be able to come over to the Compass program and be effective in the classroom with students. Are you open to feedback? Do you seek feedback from others? What is your mindset with regard to working with students? These are some of the things that these questions are asking, so that when you answer them, please be sure to be mindful of your grammar, be mindful of your punctuation, be mindful of those things that you'll ask your students to be mindful of when they're completing work for you. As the pre-screeners are scoring these, they are looking for the mindset of the person, as well as are they able to communicate well in written communications. You are typing this information, and you do have a limit of characters that you can use. So please be very conscientious as you answer those. Page 17. And let me say one more thing, excuse me, for page 16. If you leave them blank, then you are automatically eliminated from the pre-screening process. So please do not leave them blank. They must be answered. They are required. Page 17 takes us into the disclosures for the district. These questions are specific to any employee that comes into the Dallas ISD. Please answer them as honestly and to the best of your knowledge as you can. Notice that every single question on this page does have an asterisk near it. For the work that we do here in the Dallas ISD, it is extremely important that we are making sure that people are the right fit for our campuses. We want people who can demonstrate commitment, that they don't have lots of contract failure to renew their contracts, or they've resigned or been terminated or had other issues that indicate that they are not demonstrating commitment to that job. Notice we do work with children, and so a full background check will be completed on you. So even when you answer these questions, we still conduct a full fingerprinting and background check. And so it's important that you answer these honestly, so that when those documents are submitted to us, you have disclosed information that we needed to be made aware of on the front end. Page 18 begins the legal information. Notice this is a required page as well. Every one of these questions must be answered. These questions ask about your criminal background and felony offenses. These are very typical questions on any job application. Keep in mind there is EEO information here and equal opportunity employment, different acknowledgments. Please make sure that when you check this button, you recognize that you are acknowledging that these answers are true and honest. Page 19 is also a legal page. Again, you see the red asterisk because it is required. This is about your authorization to work in the United States. We do have some applicants who have been inquiring about visa sponsorship, and so I want to be very transparent here and let you know that if you have not already submitted your application, then you will not be able to get visa sponsorship. We use the very first application deadline as the deadline of submission for all documentation for visa applicants. And so that was back in January. So in order to join us this summer, we are unable to sponsor any more visa candidates or applicants for this summer cohort. However, I encourage you to still apply, because there will be opportunities for us to sponsor people on visas later on, potentially in the fall and then again next summer. Page 20 is the EEO volunteer data sheet. We ask for this data because we are asked to report it to the state of Texas. And so we do report gender, ethnicity, and race data. However, as with all applications, you have the option to choose not to respond. And when you choose not to respond, it doesn't take you out of the running. As a matter of fact, this has absolutely no bearing on whether or not you will be able to join the Compass program. And this is voluntary data. We ask for it, and you cannot not answer it. If you leave it blank, it won't allow you to submit your application, but there is the option to choose not to respond on each one of these questions. Page 21 asks you specifically for Compass, because this is the data that we need for you to be able to make sure that we can place you in the right classroom when the time comes and make sure you have the right certification. We ask you to give us your first choice, second choice, and third choice area for certification. Notice there is a drop-down menu. These are the only areas of certification that Compass offers. If you are pursuing certification outside of this menu, then Compass is not the program that you want to join, because we only offer certification in these areas. The list is pretty extensive though, so I'm sure you'll be able to find a certification area that fits you. The last page of the application is page 22, and it is a confirmation page. Notice, because we're using a test page, you cannot see what it actually asks you, but this is the page where the words will come up that you confirm that all of the information that you've included in this application is true to the best of your knowledge. Once you confirm that, you are not able to go back and correct it. So that's why we're getting this error message. But when you get to page 22, you'll be able to confirm, and this button will highlight. The button right here that says finish and submit, it will be white like this save as draft button, because you haven't confirmed your application. If you've already started the application and if you've already confirmed the application, you may not be able to do that either, but you must click finish and submit to be able to actually have us see your application on our end. If you do not finish and submit, we cannot begin to screen you for selection into our program. So please make sure that you finish and submit. I see one more question. It says, is TOEFL required for people who graduate outside of the States? I've been in the States for over 15 years. Do I still need to do it? Yes, the answer to that question is you still need to take and pass TOEFL. The state's requirement is if your degree is from outside of the United States, no matter how long ago you received it, then you are required to take the TOEFL exam and pass the oral portion with a 26 or better. So we'll stay on a few more minutes. That's the end of the presentation and tutorial. Hopefully I didn't go too fast and you guys have an opportunity to get some of your questions answered. If you have any other questions, please make sure that you send me the questions via chat. If you have not done so, please visit our website at www.dallasisd.org/compass, COMPASS. I would go to the home page, but it won't allow me to switch over to the home page and show that to you. So I just want to make sure that you all have heard our web page more than once, so you know where to find the latest information about the Compass program. And since we have not gotten any other questions, I will say thank you very much for attending. We appreciate it. We want to be as helpful as we can to have you onboarded with the Compass program. Please reach out to us with any questions that you may have. Our contact information can be found on our webpage. Thank you very much and have an awesome day.